Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Scorpion Cigar Reviews. Today I'll be doing part 2 of a comparison from the new Camacho Corojo Scorpion as compared to the older Camacho line, Camacho blend, which was a Yamastran Corojo, 100% Corojo. So we'll get on with it. Here is the cigar in question for today. This is a 6x50 Toro. Fairly firm pack, not as firm as the Scorpion line. A little bit of sponginess, not bad though. Has looks like a triple cap. Some minor veining. For the most part, pretty tight seams. There looks like a spot or two that's a little bit loose, but not bad. A little bit of a wrinkle in the wrapper. Slight tear on the foot. I don't see that being a problem. Now, I'm outside, so I'm not going to get as many of the scents on the nose as I would likely get in the house. And not a whole lot of anything. Some I don't know, maybe a little bit just basic mild tobacco notes. Now the foot gives me a little bit more. A little bit of spice in there. Feel it where it makes you want to sneeze. Got some cocoa, maybe a little bit of bread dough. Alright. Now to keep things fair, I'm going to do things the same way I did while reviewing the Scorpion line. So I'll be using the inexpensive V-cutter. Tell you, I still feel that sneeze trying to come on. Nice pre-draw, not as free-flowing as the Scorpion line. Now, the only difference really, other than the old blend versus the new blend, is this being a Toro size. This is a 6x50, where the other one that I smoked, the Scorpion, was a Robusto 5x50. So that will change some of the aspects of the cigar, flavor-wise, smoking characteristics, that type of thing, but shouldn't be too far off. You know, I could see if I was doing a Panatella versus a 6x60, but you know, these are close. So good draw, just like it is on the pre-draw. Some spice, some leather. Maybe a little bit of hay in there. Okay, that's good. And I'll also be using the same lighter, so single torch flame lighter. Try to keep everything as close to the same on the review as possible. I guess the biggest difference is this being a Toro as opposed to a Robusto. There we are. Once again, blast of pepper, quite strong, very powerful. It's not like a black pepper, it's more of almost like a jalapeno pepper or something like that, or a red chili pepper. And it's still burning my sinuses. Very long on the finish there, coming through the sinuses. Man. Smoke is pretty dry, although not as dry on the initial light as the Scorpion line was. That one was just really dry. It's got a slightly different kind of pepper in it too. Rear of the palate, you can definitely feel the pepper, like a red chili. Oh, it's affecting my vocal cords even. It's still got my sinuses burning. Not a whole lot else going on. That hot pepper is just really taking over the entire cigar. So, let this heat up a little bit. I'll get somewhere into the first third. Once again, trying to keep all things fair, I will be drinking the same beer as I did with the Scorpion line of the Camacho. This is the Stone Brewing Company's Ruination IPA. I won't go into all the details. If you want to know a little bit more about this microbrew ale, just go to my written review on the Camacho Scorpion. I had a little segment in there on this. I will once again be using a proper water glass in place of a proper beer tasting glass, because I don't have one. This seems to work out just fine. Now, the only other difference that I'm doing tonight is it's a little bit chilly out, so I do have a cup of coffee as well. I'll try not to let that interfere with the cigar. I'll wash before and after with the beer. Take the coffee in between swigs of beer. Just try to keep everything as honest and simple and even-keeled as possible. Once again, a nice, well, the head diminishes quickly. I mean, from the moment I poured it, it had about an inch or so, and I'm already down to, half an inch or less, and it's just been a moment. Nice nose, floral. I tell you, the initial lighting still got my senses just woo, so I'm not picking up as much on this beer tonight as I did last night. Very malty. Just expands and explodes in your mouth. Very strong ale character, as would be expected. So, we'll let that sit for a moment, and I'll be back with the first third of the cigar review. We are just about an hour in. I have about almost an inch and a half of ash. See, it's starting to get a little flaky there, and it's developing a rather substantial crack right along here. It seems to be fairly deep. The cigar is burning a little bit quicker than the Scorpion line did, considering it's an inch longer, and I've I don't know, half an hour in, and did I say an hour a moment ago? I'm sorry if I did. Half an hour in. And it just seems to be burning a lot quicker. I'm going to go ahead and flip this ash off. That came off very easily, as opposed to the Scorpion line. I really had a fight with it. It took 6 or 7 hard flicks to get that ash off on the other cigar, and this just a light tap and it came off. As you can see, it broke off in a bit of an uneven chunk. I'm going to go ahead and kind of touch that up a little bit, roll it around the side of the ashtray. There we go. It's still kind of loose. No issues with the burn. It's really pretty darn even. the pepper has really mellowed down. Hasn't completely disappeared, but it's really mellowed. It kind of started off full strength, even once I got into the first third, but with each draw it mellowed more and more. Medium body with maybe a low end of medium on the strength. Picking up some subtle hints of grilled meat. A little bit of black pepper on the retrohale. Fairly long finish of, what is that? Bacon. That's very interesting, bacon. Smoke's a little dry on the rear of the palate, way back in here. Well, this thing just continues to mellow. I mean, with every draw, it's mellowing more and more. That pepper is almost completely gone. Picking up a little bit of the Cajun spices along lines of jambalaya or etouffee, which is right along the same lines as the scorpion line was giving me. Maybe a slight hint of leather in there. Okay. We'll continue on. I'll get somewhere into the second third and I'll be back. Now, I mentioned earlier that I was only going to compare the cigar as far as pairing it with the same beverage. However, since I do have the coffee here, just for fun and comparison, I wanted to see how the coffee went with the cigar. It actually goes fairly well as well. As many of you know, that cigars and whatever you're pairing them with feed off of each other. So the flavors you pick out on the cigar change with the drink, and the flavors of the drink change with whatever cigar you're smoking. So I do pick up a little bit different nuances with the coffee. I'm drinking a JFG medium dark roast coffee. And it also seems to go fairly well with the Ruination IPA. So that's an update on the beverages, and I'll be back shortly. Here we are, not quite an hour in. Now, the cigar went out while I was drawing on it, just after the last update. I got a few light, very thin smoke draws, and it just quit. So you know, I relit it. Picking up almost some like raw wood, like just like you were chewing on a stick. You know, it wasn't bad. Just you know, it is what it is. A little bit of white pepper, red chili pepper on the rear of the palate there. A little bit of mineral. Now, while I was in between segments here, I only had at most half an inch of ash, and I set it down lightly in the ashtray, and the ash just fell off. So it seems to be continuing to be a very light, flaky ash. Not holding on well at all. In fact, starting to develop another crack. I'm going to go ahead and flick this off yet again. Well, there it goes. That one took a little bit of effort. Something else there. little bit of leather. Perhaps some heavy paper. A little heavier than like a construction paper, but not quite as heavy as a cardboard. Still has a fairly powerful pepper note on the retrohale. Alright, so I'll get somewhere into the final third and I'll be back. Here we are about an hour and 15 minutes in. Late in the final third, approaching the nub. The ash has remained quite loose. I had to flick it off at least twice since the last update. Some mild pepper notes. Hints of leather. Maybe a little bit of mineral in there. Still has that heavy paper character to it. The wrapper's starting to come apart above the band. See if you can see this here. Right there. Just above the band. It's getting pretty soft. It's flattening out where I've been holding it, and where I've put it in my mouth. Kind of, light pressure is causing it to flatten out a little bit. Not a big deal. It does cause the draw to tighten up ever so slightly, but like I said, it's not a real big deal. Some subtle hints of Cajun spice and a burning wood. Not quite like a campfire, but that's the only way I can describe it, is some burning wood, but not campfire. It's a low end of medium body and strength. Not a bad cigar at all. The flavors just aren't as rich or as forward as the Scorpion line. Peppery retrohale. Alright, so I'll come back into the nub. I will likely burn this all the way through unless it just becomes a real problem with where the wrapper's coming down. I don't foresee it being a problem. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and... there it went. Wrapper's flaking off. Wrapper's pretty dry on this. Getting real close to the band, so in between the segments here, I'll go ahead and remove the band. I'll be back in the nub. I'll probably have to touch it up a little bit, starting to burn a little uneven right there. So, I'll be right back. Here we are, just about 90 minutes in. I'm into the nub. You can see the wrapper is continuing to flake, kind of all the way around. I did go ahead and touch it up, and it's still burning a little unevenly right there. Now, as I mentioned, I'm trying to keep this as close to the review that I did of the Scorpion line as I possibly can. So I started this cigar at the same time that I did on the Scorpion cigar. It's burning a little bit quicker than the Scorpion did. So that extra inch of cigar is only going to yield just a few minutes, really, maybe 5 minutes at the most. This was about where I ended it with the Scorpion cigar. So I'll go ahead and end this review here, saying that the original Camacho has put out, with the initial light, once again, that blast of pepper, like a red chili pepper or maybe a jalapeno pepper. Very powerful. Has some little bit of leather in there, some minerals, some wood, a little bit of meatiness. The really interesting character characteristic that it put out was that the hint of bacon on the finish earlier on. That was really neat. So that's really about it for this cigar. I'll be ending this review here. I will continue on through the nub, see what happens. If something really interesting comes through, then I'll be back. But I don't foresee anything happening that would justify coming back again. So I thank you for once again watching Scorpion Cigar Reviews. And this has been the original Camacho in Toro size. See you next time.